Let me ask you a deeply personal question. When was the last time you felt truly, genuinely well? I am not talking about just feeling fine or managing to get by day to day, but feeling completely energized, clear-headed, and physically strong. If you had to pause and think about that for a moment, this discussion is precisely what you need to hear. Here is a statistic that stopped me completely in my tracks when I first uncovered it during my 12 years of medical practice. The average man lives nearly 6 years less than the average woman. 6 years. That is not an insignificantly small gap. That represents years of seeing your grandchildren grow, taking retirement trips, and experiencing priceless moments with the people you care about most. Most people automatically assume they know why this gap exists. They think men take reckless risks or behave dangerously. But over my years of treating patients, I have discovered that is simply not the true story. The real killers of men are not dramatic or cinematic. They are ordinary. They are completely quiet. And the vast majority of men never see them coming. My name is Dr. Nerita, and today I want to guide you through the 5 specific daily habits that are actively shortening men's lives. I promise you that the absolute number 1 habit on this list will surprise you. Most men assume that alcohol is the leading culprit, but in reality, alcohol only ranks at number 5. Before we move forward, if you find this information valuable, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below sharing exactly where you are watching from. I deeply enjoy hearing from the men within this growing community. Now, let us dive straight into the list. Coming in at number 5 on our countdown is alcohol. Before you roll your eyes and assume you have already heard this lecture 1,000 times, stay with me, because the actual physiological danger is not what most men think it is. The CDC estimates that alcohol consumption shaves roughly 2 to 3 years off the average man's lifespan. That sounds almost manageable on paper, right? But remember, that number is just a broad average. The men who participate in heavy weekend binge drinking, pouring down 3, 4, or 5 drinks on a Friday evening after a stressful week, can easily lose 10, 15, or even 20 years of life. Here is the vital detail most men completely overlook. The primary issue isn't necessarily drinking a small amount every single day. The true hazard lies in the specific pattern of how men tend to drink, the weekend bender. It is the habit of pushing your body incredibly hard after holding everything together tightly during the work week. That exact pattern, drinking rapidly to actively feel the buzz, is precisely what completely overwhelms your liver. Your liver is biologically calibrated to process only about 1 standard drink per hour. The moment you push past that threshold, liver cells begin to die off much faster than your body can naturally replace them. Inflammatory markers skyrocket. Fat begins to aggressively accumulate in cellular tissue that was never designed to store it. After you cross the age of 40, I observe this exact phenomenon in my clinic constantly. The liver's natural ability to bounce back slows down dramatically. The physical load you easily handled at age 25 inflicts 2 to 3 times the cellular damage at age 55. Furthermore, the destruction doesn't halt at the liver. It triggers fragmented sleep, climbing blood pressure, depleted testosterone levels, heightened systemic anxiety, and chronic inflammation throughout your entire body. Most men never consciously connect these individual dots. They simply feel progressively older and more drained without knowing why. The remedy here does not require absolute perfection. It requires baseline awareness. Commit to giving your body a couple of completely alcohol-free days every single week. Intentionally slow down your pace when you do decide to have a drink, and give your liver an explicit rest period the morning after a heavy night out. These are small adjustments that yield massive, real-world results. But remember, alcohol is merely number 5. What comes next is far more destructive. Number 4 on our list is a silent threat that walks straight into my medical office in disguise nearly every single week: chronic stress. It ranks a full step above alcohol in terms of overall biological damage, a fact that surprises almost everyone. A monumental, long-running study from Harvard University revealed that men living under sustained, unrelenting pressure lose an average of more than 4 full years off their lives. Yet, even that stark number barely captures the brutal reality of what is occurring inside your blood vessels and organs. When stress shifts from an occasional moment of pressure into your permanent background noise, a constant, low-frequency hum that your mind never actually switches off, the hormone cortisol completely floods your system. Short, temporary bursts of cortisol are inherently protective. They help you survive a crisis. However, long-term, systemic cortisol is deeply corrosive. It systematically dismantles your immune system, tightens your blood vessels, places immense strain on your heart, drives your blood sugar levels progressively higher, and quietly destroys the foundational quality of your sleep. Even if you are lying in bed for a full 8 hours, your body isn't actually resting. I always instruct my patients to visualize the human body as a beautifully engineered, high-performance machine. Chronic stress is the exact equivalent of running that complex machine completely devoid of coolant fluid. Everything continues to move forward, but the internal components are steadily grinding themselves down to dust from the inside out. Compounding this is a deep cultural issue. So many men are taught from childhood to simply push through pain, to remain entirely silent, and to project strength by never discussing their internal struggles. Consequently, they bottle up the pressure, allowing it to build continuously. There is no release valve, no physical outlet. It doesn't result in a sudden, dramatic explosion. It manifests as a slow, completely invisible internal collapse. Fortunately, chronic stress has a massive weakness. You do not have to magically solve every single life problem to begin the physical healing process. Stepping outside for a genuine walk, engaging in a transparent, honest conversation with a person you completely trust, or dedicating just 1 hour to an activity that injects real joy into your life. These are not frivolous luxuries. They are literal medicine. When you give your nervous system explicit permission to finally de-escalate, your biology knows exactly how to repair itself. But remember, that is only number 4. The remaining habits are even more lethal. Number 3 is a habit that catches the vast majority of men entirely off guard: social isolation. The truly treacherous part of this threat is how slowly and seamlessly it sneaks up on your life. During their 20s, most men enjoy highly active social landscapes filled with friends, teammates, and broad social circles. Then the 40s arrive. Professional responsibilities take over completely, family becomes the absolute priority, and old friendships begin to quietly drift away. One day, a man in his 50s looks around and suddenly realizes his entire emotional world has narrowed down to just 1 or 2 core relationships, and sometimes down to absolutely none. Biologically, we are simply not built to live that way. Human beings are fundamentally wired for deep community connection. The moment that connection vanishes, the nervous system reads the void as an immediate existential threat. A landmark, massive analysis tracking over 300,000 individuals discovered that chronic social isolation increases the risk of premature death by up to 50%, a level of biological danger that directly mirrors the damage caused by years of heavy cigarette smoking. Unlike smoking or heavy drinking, isolation leaves absolutely no visible external marks. There is no formal medical diagnosis for loneliness. It simply creates a quiet, lingering internal emptiness. Yet that exact emptiness triggers documented, measurable biological destruction. Systemic inflammation rises sharply, immune defense drops, blood pressure becomes incredibly difficult to clinically regulate, and fundamental daily self-care quietly deteriorates. Understand this clearly. Social isolation does not simply mean living physically alone. It means having no one in your life with whom you can be radically honest, no one who truly knows the heavy weight you are carrying every day. The good news is that your physiology responds to genuine connection almost instantaneously. Placing a single phone call to an old friend, meeting someone for a casual coffee on a Saturday morning, or joining a localized community group, team, or club can alter your trajectory. It does not require a monumental effort, but the connection must be real. Genuine, authentic human connection doesn't just uplift your mental mood. Rigorous clinical research proves it actively extends your lifespan. And remember, this is only number 3. The final 2 habits are significantly more dangerous. Number 2 on our list is a foundational pillar of health that I profoundly wish more men treated with absolute seriousness: chronic sleep deprivation. This habit ranks significantly higher than both stress and isolation, yet most men completely underestimate its impact. Sleep is routinely treated as a dispensable bonus, the very first thing you cut from your schedule the moment life becomes busy. You tell yourself that watching one more episode, finishing one more task, or scraping by on a couple fewer hours of sleep is no big deal. Your body, however, completely disagrees with that logic. When you consistently shortchange your sleep, your brain and vital organs are forced to keep working through the exact hours that evolution specifically dedicated to deep cellular repair. To compensate for this constant lack of recovery, your resting heart rate increases, your blood vessels stiffen up, and your blood sugar becomes increasingly volatile and difficult to regulate. Shockingly, just a single night of sleeping only 5 hours can drop your immune cellular function by nearly 30%. According to data from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, men who regularly sleep fewer than 6 hours a night live an average of more than 7 years, less than those who prioritize rest. 7 full years of life stolen by a habit that feels entirely harmless on the surface. What makes this incredibly tricky is that the human brain quickly adapts to chronic fatigue. You convince yourself that you feel perfectly fine, perhaps just a little sluggish, while your cardiovascular system and hormonal pathways are quietly forced into overdrive just to keep you functional. The beautiful reality is that your body responds to rest incredibly fast. After just 2 or 3 nights of solid, uninterrupted sleep lasting 7 to 8 hours, your blood pressure naturally drops, your cognitive focus sharpens, your emotional mood stabilizes, and your physical energy levels surge back to life. Sleep is never wasted time. It is the vital window your body utilizes to pull your health back from the edge. To start reversing the damage tonight, commit to a highly consistent bedtime, even on the weekends. Force yourself to put your phone down at least 1 full hour before turning off the lights. Keep your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet, and completely eliminate caffeine after the early afternoon. These are basic, uncomplicated adjustments, but they compound with massive power over time. And now, we have arrived at the absolute #1 habit that is actively shortening men's lives. It is not alcohol, it is not stress, and it is not even chronic sleep deprivation. It is the simple act of sitting. I am fully aware that this sounds far too basic to be taken seriously, and that exact dismissive attitude is precisely why it is so profoundly dangerous. A comprehensive, 20-year study tracking over 120,000 individuals revealed that men who sit for more than 8 hours a day carry a staggering 60% higher risk of premature death. A highly sedentary lifestyle can actively strip up to 12 full years from a man's life. The destruction is entirely invisible because it occurs deep within your cellular physiology. The moment you sit down for an extended, unbroken period, the massive muscle groups in your lower limbs, which serve as the single largest calorie-burning engines in your body, essentially shut down entirely. Blood begins to pool heavily in your lower extremities, your circulatory speed plummets, and your brain receives a diminished supply of oxygen. This is the exact reason why long, unbroken sitting sessions leave you feeling mentally foggy and physically drained. Behind the scenes, insulin resistance builds quietly, drastically elevating your risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Systemic inflammation climbs, and your heart is forced to work substantially harder just to pump blood through a progressively stiffening vascular system. Here is the critical distinction I need you to understand. It is not the cumulative total hours of sitting throughout the day that inflicts the deepest damage. The true culprit is how long you remain seated without introducing movement. After just 30 minutes of complete physical stillness, your overall metabolic rate begins to plunge, your body's fat storage mechanisms accelerate, and your muscle tissue starts breaking down much faster than it ever should. Use it or lose it is not an inspirational phrase for a gym t-shirt. It is an absolute law of human physiology. But here is what I absolutely love sharing with my patients. You do not need a gym membership, and you do not need to construct a brand new, exhausting workout routine to fix this. You simply need to deliberately interrupt the stillness. Force yourself to stand up every 30 minutes and move your body for just 2 minutes. Taking a short walk after your meals, even for just 5 minutes, makes a massive, measurable difference in your post-meal blood sugar clearance. Take your phone calls standing up or pacing around the room. Intentionally choose the stairs over the elevator and park your car further away in the parking lot. Let physical movement weave naturally into the fabric of your day rather than treating it as an arduous chore you have to schedule your entire life around. The exact moment you stand up, your biology immediately enters recovery mode. That is not a motivational speech. That is foundational human biology. When you step back and look at all 5 of these habits as a cohesive whole, one undeniable truth becomes impossible to ignore. Men do not lose their health in a single, dramatic, cataclysmic moment. They lose it slowly, day by day, through the tiny, seemingly insignificant choices repeated year after year. Alcohol steals 2 to 3 years of your life. Chronic stress can strip away 4 or more. Social isolation takes 5 or more. Sleep deprivation robs you of over 7. And chronic, unbroken sitting can eliminate up to 12 years of your future.